Not that long ago, Tesla said they could be operating robotaxis as early as the middle of this year, a target they reiterated, clarifying that it could be as early as June in Austin and perhaps California and a handful of other places. Well, this week we have seen that Tesla has applied for a robotaxi permit in the state of California, one of the most restrictive places to get one, and it's got a lot of people asking a lot of questions, so let's provide some answers. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So what we're looking at here is this story that came out. This is Drive Tesla Canada's version. It's great that they have a light mode and a dark mode, but the dark mode is not well optimized. All right. I will use Drive Tesla Canada as long as I can until the, terrible tariffs take their toll. But enough alliteration. Let's get to the story. Tesla applies for California permit to launch robotaxi service. That's good news. That's what you want to hear. That lines up with the timelines we've been told to expect. Tesla's making moves to launch the robotaxi business in California as the company has applied for a transportation charter party carrier permit with the California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC. The application, first reported by Bloomberg, reportedly includes details about driver's license requirements and drug testing protocols, suggesting that Tesla will operate with human drivers before transitioning to a driverless fleet. Correct. That is how it works. You must first prove with a safety driver that it works. Once the system is fully vetted, then you may remove the driver. That's just how it works. Now, there's some confusion on that, but we'll get into that. Additionally, Tesla's proposed model would see the company owning and operating the fleet, potentially allowing for greater control over pricing, maintenance, and overall service quality, aligning with the direction the company has previously said they would with their robotaxi service. Well, why is Tesla going to own them all? Well, because in the beginning, we don't know yet how many hours of humans are needed to supervise the system. Some supervision is required by law. There needs to be an emergency person at the other end of a button. If you press the button, a human needs to answer and be able to take control. If all Teslas were able to enter the robotaxi fleet tomorrow, what you would get is a very unpredictable supply and demand problem. Do we have enough operators on standby to handle 4 million cars? We don't even know if we're going to need that at any time. If you own them all, well, if there's some kind of outage at the service center, you can just tell the cars not to pick up any more riders because they're your cars. But if they're out on other fleets, on other services operating in your neighborhood, well, that's another matter. So it would make sense to do it that way in the beginning, staggered. The approach mirrors that of other players in the self-driving space like Waymo, which also started operations with safety drivers before expanding into full autonomy. There's no driver in the car. There may be a driver somewhere. We know Cruise got caught having a lot of drivers per car. While Tesla has approval to test self-driving vehicles with a safety driver in California, the company has not yet obtained regulatory approval for driverless operations in California, which has, as we mentioned, some of the strictest protocols. Testing is quite different from operating a commercial service. So while California could present some regulatory challenges, Tesla's path to launching a driverless fleet may be smoother in Texas. Unlike California, Texas regulates autonomous vehicles similarly to conventional ones, meaning Tesla could potentially roll it out without extensive permitting delays. And that's what I expect to see. An Austin rollout followed by other markets. Go the path of least resistance. Why fight battles until it's necessary? Tesla's been in talks with officials from the city of Austin since May of 24, aiming to establish safety guidelines and train first responders on how to interact with its autonomous vehicles. But they have not yet applied for the rideshare license with the Texas DOT, DOL, and regulations, a required step before they could launch their services in June. Okay, so there you go. Now, one of the bits of confusion, people said, well, if there's going to have to be a safety driver, that means a cybercab can only hold one person. And I thought, Brian, you kept saying that the cybercab would not have, couldn't be driven by a wheel. We've seen it driven by a wheel, Brian. We know it can. Right. In a testing environment, to move it around the campus in Austin, it can have a wheel. It can also have a joystick. It can have a a rolling wheel, like on a trackball, like on an old video game. You could do whatever you want. But for actually releasing it, that's a different matter. For testing, you can put anything on a car. You can do absolutely anything. You can do crazy stuff. Doesn't mean that's how it's going to actually work out in the end. So what have we got going on? So what does this mean? Well, the RoboTaxi's not supposed to, the CyberCab's not supposed to have a steering wheel. And even if you could put a steering wheel in it, well, then what are you going to do? Just take one passenger at a time, sitting side by side with a complete stranger who's bored and hopefully not doing much but supervising? No, they won't test the Cybercab. They'll test Model 3 and Y and S and X. Those are the cars that have more seats. You don't have to test every individual vehicle without a driver. You need to test every system without a driver. And it's the same system on the Cybercab as it would be on all the other vehicles. When Waymo gets their approval, which they have, to operate without a driver, they're done. If they introduce their new vehicle, their new Kia that they plan to use, will they have to recertify it? I mean, maybe a little bit, but they won't need a safety driver. When they get their Zoox, which won't even have a steering wheel, I believe. When they get their Zeekr, which probably won't even have a steering wheel, will they need to recertify that? No, I mean, some kind of certification, sure, but they won't have to start at nothing. They won't have to start from square one, testing the whole system all over again as if it was a brand new system. No, do the cameras work? Do the sensors work? Does the system work? Driverless. So no, there will not be a need to use RoboTaxis, cybercabs that is, with only one passenger. I mean, you could, but that's ridiculous. And the number of drivers you'd need is prohibitive. If this works well in Austin, which I hope it will, then they could scale to other markets. They can say, look, how much testing do you need us to do? We've done this many miles in Austin, this many in Phoenix, this many wherever else. Can we just do it? Can we just roll it out now because it works? Or do we have to do a limited amount of testing? And even for that, that doesn't mean they'd need to test with real customers. There are ways to get around it. You could do dummy tests with dummy customers. There are solutions to all of these problems. But the big news is this is a big first step and one that we wanted to see happen. It's very exciting. We're going to actually get to live in the future. I know. We are always going to live in the now, but I've been waiting a long time for driverless cars my whole life. Bad enough I haven't got my jetpack yet, and I know they make those too, but I'm still not going to get one. In the comments below, would you like a jetpack? They're very dangerous. But for that matter, would you like a cybercab? And if the cost per mile was 30% more than just owning a car, would you be inclined to stop owning a car? Would you get rid of your second car forever and let your second car be your current first car and your cybercab be your primary car? I don't know. What are you thinking? Because I'm telling you, man, for travel, when I'm in a new town, I would do a cybercab. And I was even thinking about this. I've said recently that I don't think I could get rid of my car because I need one to carry my stuff when I go on my trips, to have all the things I need. But if it's that much cheaper, maybe I'll just fly. Maybe I'll just fly and cybercab it around when I get there. That might actually be cheaper. And if you consider the cost of your road trip to include your depreciation, road trips are not as cheap as they appear, because you can easily put 10,000 miles on a car in a road trip. And if your car is only expected to last you 150,000 miles, now you should be able to get 150,000 out of a modern car. But if it's an older car and you're already at 80,000 miles, do you really want to spend that much of the remainder of your car's life on just a 2-week trip? No, park it, leave it. We used to go on road trips we had an old minivan, but I wouldn't take it on road trips. We would rent a SUV from Enterprise. We would rent an SUV, we would use our Costco discount, and we would have air conditioning. We'd have roadside assistance. We'd have a vehicle that's so new it's under warranty and is expected to not break, and they never did. And just the fact that it got better gas mileage than my van saved a little bit of money. Certainly not enough to justify the cost, but the depreciation that I would have put on my car made it a better deal. Sometimes you just got to look at the economics different. What did you think of this video? What'd you miss? What did I miss? What did I misunderstand? I'm sleepy because this weekend has been the opening weekend of our 12 Angry Jurors. It went fantastic. We had so many people there today. We were probably 3/4 full, which is very exciting. And it's just going great. Everybody in the cast is seasoned and reasonably professional, even though it is my first time on stage in 32 years. There's information about that. It's pinned at the top of my X and YouTube accounts. You can see it if you want. We run the next 2 weekends. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do what you do. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to see you clever robots in the audience as I perhaps change my verdict.